Welcome to the Altered Life Podcast, a show about the power of human connection, told in various forms from multiple sides. Join us for Season 1 as your host, Michael Castanon, brings you along for conversations that each carry an important message and takeaway you can apply in your own life. You're about to hear a conversation between Michael and Coach Bill Hart. Bill Hart is a coach, podcaster, author, and keynote speaker. He currently coaches leaders and executives at Movement Mortgage following his 25-year career in the mortgage industry. With 17,000 plus hours in the coach's chair, Bill says he's still energized by the work he does. The theme of this conversation is how finding your why will allow you to more effectively help others. Bill keeps a special why file full of positive notes and encouragement from clients that he pulls up whenever he needs a strong reminder of why he got started in the first place. Please don't forget to subscribe to this show on your favorite platform. Enjoy today's episode.
You and Ryan are working together on a professional level, right? But you're also working together on a personal level. And in my work, we're sort of downstream dealing with a lot of trauma. It's more profound. It's more prevalent than I would have ever imagined before coming into the space of, behavioral health care and helping people with mental health and substance use disorder and the myriad of other presenting problems in primary mental health. So that tells me that there's many people that are sitting in a professional chair, occupying a role in an organization. They're carrying that around and it's showing up. You see it. I know you do. So you kind of open the door. Tell me about that. Let's get real. Like how, you can't really get any place in life unless you get real and are willing to sort of, we talked about vulnerability, but there's got to be those times where you got to address those things, right, Bill? How do you do that? How do you do that when you're a professional life coach, an executive coach, and you see these things? Because you see them. I know you do.
Well, and I see it so much more, Michael, just as you do post-COVID.
Yep.
We just saw in the Wall Street Journal and every other news platform that loneliness is like one of our biggest crises right now in America. Loneliness. It's mind-blowing to me. So again, I'm going to go to my sister and brother-in-law. They live in Santa Fe, and they're showing us this program, a physical newspaper of all the music and all the art galleries, and it's all 5 minutes from them. Like they can walk down, and there's just always activities. And she said before that, when they lived in Miami, there was a bookstore called the Bookstore in Coral Gables where people would congregate and get together. And, we see communities now where developers are trying to build that into the actual landscape of some of these newer developments. But I just think about how many of us in suburbia drive up to our house, open up our garage door, close it behind us, a little cautious because we're seeing Instagram videos of people rolling under the door to, take our stuff. And we come inside and we open up a bottle of wine or bourbon and turn on the TV, and we just, it's lonely. It can be a lonely existence. And so what I find, the can opener, if you will, the emotional can opener that I'm using more and more these days in coaching is not taking the first response when I ask, how are you? Because they say everything from I'm good to if I was any better, there'd have to be two of me. And either way, it's garbage, right? It's So, and when I lower my smile, because I'm a pretty animated guy, when I lower the corners of my mouth and I lower the tone of my voice and say, no, how are you really? And then I stop talking. And you know this from, your clinical training. That's when people, I think, start to open up.
Thank you for sharing that, Bill. This is something I think we need to get out to those that are, in those executive roles in the workplace. Like, how do we also say you're not alone, right? Because you talk about loneliness. Just being in that situation without talking about it, without acknowledging it is extremely lonely and it's burdensome. So I appreciate you talking about this.
Yeah. And look, it's not always going to work. I mean, I can think of a couple of people I coach right now that it took months for some of these people to really open up and tell me about an abusive relationship, an addiction, a death, a separation, an estrangement, a child, a teenager who's hurting themselves, porn addictions. I mean, it's mind blowing how long it can take and yet how truthful it can become. And again, you ask me, how do you build trust? You get into that stuff with somebody, and as long as they know it's safe, I know that's such an overused word. I'm such a cranky old coach, at 68, I'm like, oh, good. I want you to be safe. But it's true, right? They need to feel like, cool, this is a place, I often call it an island of implementation. Coaching should be an island of implementation where you and I are sitting there. So Ryan's here. Ryan and I are sitting there. There's one palm tree, right? There's a couple coconuts, and we're just sitting there on the beach and sharpening a harpoon so we can go catch some fish. But it's just he and I in that 30-minute window, Ryan, right? I mean, this is not 2 hours. It's 30 minutes. And that would be the other just quick thing that I would say. If you're a coach, if you're a leader and you have limited time, you've got to be hyper efficient in that time and explain to people that you're going to shift time a little bit in that 30 minutes, meaning this is not a normal conversation. I'm going to jump in. In aviation, you can see the airplane behind me. In aviation, we would say my airplane, where I grab the wheel. Because I think we have to do that because we don't have unlimited time. We have to kind of be hyper efficient.
Guys, yeah. I'm thoroughly convinced, whether we know it or not, as adults, a human being's primary purpose is to progress toward their purpose, what they've been, put on this earth to do. And the further away we get from that, the further frustration, the more unhappiness we have. The closer we get to that, the more fulfillment, the more happiness, the more joy we have.
Yeah. So Michael, Daniel Harkavy, the founder of Building Champions.
Absolutely.
We have the most unique relationship. He's 10 years younger than me, and he's at the top of my mentor list, my personal board of directors. And it was because of his personhood, as John Maxwell describes it, that I joined Building Champions in 2003. It wasn't because of the opportunity. It wasn't because of the company. It was because of Daniel. And one of the first things that he said to me is when I was pushing back on, I'm not sure I'm a coach. He's like, dude, you're a coach. You just haven't been getting paid for it, right? And he said, here's what I want you to do, because you're going to be coaching people in the mortgage industry. Remember, these are heady times, Michael. You remember this before the crash, right? In 08, It's in what kind of money can be made in the mortgage industry. It's unbelievable. He said, you're going to be coaching people who are making 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times as much as you are in a given month. Mm-hmm. And it's going to occur to you that, maybe I should go back into doing production myself. And in that moment, he said, I want you to have a file, and I want you to label it the Y file, WHY. And in that file, you'll have handwritten notes, cards. There it is. Nothing fancy, but wow, there it is. And that's, a fraction over 20 years. But I can't fit a T-shirt in there. So apparently I have to get a Y closet now. But, inside here, you guys, there are cards. There are just, tons of cards and emails that I printed out. And man, that's the stuff that I just marinate in, Michael. Wow. So when you ask about purpose,
yes,
I believe that my God-given gifts are best used in the coach's chair.
There you go.
I have become very clear. Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach talks about your unique ability. Go check that out, you guys, if you need a little bit more data here. He's got a website on it and a book. You figure out what your unique ability is, and everything else just kind of falls by the wayside. And we delegate up so that I find myself, here's what I figured out for me, Michael, to stay within my purpose. I should be in the coaching chair, presenting in front of an audience or creating content. Anything else just creates drag in my system. And so I don't do it. I either delegate it or create a system around it, but I stay in my lane and it fills the Y file.
Wow, what a powerful message. Finding our why can give us fuel to keep going, even when things get hard. How can you find your why, and how can you use it to help others? You might start with identifying your passions. Identifying what you are passionate about and how it can help others leads you to inspiration and influence. Living your why authentically can inspire others to explore their own passions and purpose. We'd love to hear from you. Please rate and review this show on your favorite platform and let us know what you think, or if you have any suggestions for future episodes.